If you're not making your icebox pies in a cast iron skillet, what are you even doing? I love icebox pies in the spring and summer because they're cold and refreshing and so easy to make. I often end up bringing them to parties because they're easy to whip up. One of my secrets is making them in a cast iron skillet because the skillet helps retain the chill longer than a traditional pie plate. Make a saltine cracker crust like you would a graham cracker crust. Then whisk together lemon and lime juice with sugar and egg yolks. Bake until set and topped with whipped cream. This recipe for Atlantic Beach pie is one of my go-tos. Instagram went crazy over this apple pie, and I don't blame them. This is one of the easiest apple pie recipes I've ever made. The hardest part is honestly peeling and slicing 4 pounds of apples. Toss them with cinnamon sugar, and there's no need to pre-cook them like in the case of most apple pie recipes. Instead, use a cast iron skillet to cook butter and brown sugar until the sugar dissolves. The skillet has a lot of advantages over a pie dish. 1, the handle. 2, it's a one-dish wonder, which I love because it means less dishes. It's also extra delicious because the bottom crust gets cooked in the buttery caramel sauce, and because it's made in a cast iron skillet, the heat retention lets you have an uber crispy crust. I love brushing my chopped crust with egg white and sprinkling with sugar before baking. I lied earlier when I said the hardest part was peeling and slicing the apples. It's actually waiting until it's cool enough to slice into, which is super important. I served it with salted caramel ice cream, which I highly, highly recommend. If there is one Southern pie recipe you should master, this is it. Classic pecan pie. Yes, you heard that right. Pecan. Not pecan, not pecan, not pecan, pecan. I'm convinced if you say it any other way, you can't make a good pie. Maybe if you pronounce it like Billy Crystal and Harry Met Sally, you might be able to bake a decent one. Anyway, let's get down to it. You need to cook sugar, corn syrup, and butter on the stove until the sugar is all the way dissolved. In order to mix the hot sugar mixture with the eggs, you need to temper them. Pour a little bit of the hot liquid in with the eggs and stir it well before adding in all of the hot stuff at once. Otherwise, you'll end up with scrambled egg pecan pie, and no one wants that. Pour it all in a pie crust and bake until the center is just set. Let cool completely before slicing and enjoying your pecan pie. What happens when pecan pie and cheesecake have a baby? It makes one of the most decadent desserts you'll ever eat. Start by pouring cheesecake batter into a cooled and baked pie crust. Top the cheesecake with chopped pecans, then spoon over a brown sugar egg custard filling before topping with pecan halves. Bake the pie in a pie plate placed on top of a baking sheet just in case any filling bubbles over. Then let cool completely before slicing. Why would you ever make just pecan pie again? Apparently, you can make a cheesecake in the microwave, so I'm gonna try it. I found a vintage Southern Living cookbook all about microwave cooking and was shocked to find a recipe for making cheesecake. This recipe for Black Forest cheesecake called to make a crust out of crushed chocolate wafers, cook it in the microwave, then mix up a pretty traditional cheesecake filling. Since it's Black Forest, it called to swirl in melted chocolate before cooking and then top with a cherry pie filling, which I'm glad I did because the top of the cheesecake was not pretty and had lots of holes. After 3 unsuccessful attempts at getting a decently pretty slice, I gave up and tasted it, and I was just as shocked to find that it actually was pretty good. Not the best cheesecake I've ever had, but honestly, good to come out of a microwave.
I'm going to show you a few tricks and a method to make foolproof meringue. In a clean mixing bowl, whisk together 3 egg whites, a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar, and 1½ tablespoons of granulated sugar for 2 full minutes. Increase the speed to 4, add another 1½ tablespoons of granulated sugar slowly, and whip for another 2 full minutes. After those 2 minutes have passed, increase the speed to 6 and slowly stream in another 1½ tablespoons of granulated sugar, allowing it to whip for another 2 full minutes. Lastly, increase the speed to 8 and slowly stream in the last 1½ tablespoons of granulated sugar, allowing it to whip for another 2 full minutes. A way to make sure that your meringue is just right is to just get a little bit on your finger and rub it between your fingers, and you shouldn't be able to feel any sugar granules. The meringue will be really satiny, smooth, and it's perfect for meringue pies or meringue-based cookies.
I turned this into this. But actually, I made it even better because this is not just a moon pie pie. It's a whiskey chocolate moon pie pie. You make a graham cracker crust, then make a marshmallow layer. Make a chocolate ganache with chocolate chips, hot cream, and butter, and then whisk in whiskey and vanilla. I'd never heard of this before making this pie, and I will seriously never make another chocolate ganache without putting whiskey in it. It was so good. Spread it with a marshmallow meringue to top it off, and 10 out of 10 will make again one of the best desserts I've made in a while. You will not believe the shortcut for these fried apple pies. Buy or make your own apple pie filling. Then the secret, tortillas. Fill 6-inch flour tortillas with 2 tablespoons of apple pie filling. Use a beaten egg to moisten the edges of the tortilla with your finger, then press to seal. Fry in 350-degree vegetable oil until golden and crisp, about 1 to 2 minutes per side. Let them drain on wire racks and watch them disappear. What's better than a snickerdoodle? Snickerdoodle donut holes. I was so surprised at how much I liked these, y'all, and so surprised at how easy they were to make too. You mix up a simple muffin batter, fill a mini muffin tin, and bake at 350 degrees for about 10 minutes. Once cooled, dip your donut holes in melted butter and then in a mixture of cinnamon, sugar, and nutmeg. Then, try not to eat the whole batch. Deep fried Oreos aren't just for the fair. Making fried Oreos at home is so easy, you'll wonder why you only ever order them at the fair. Just mix 1.5 cups of pancake mix, 1 cup of milk, and 1 egg. Stick a fork in the cream of the Oreo to easily dip in the batter, then fry at 375 degrees until the batter puffs up and is nice and golden brown. Dust with powdered sugar and try not to eat the whole package of Oreos.
There's a sugar cookie dough that takes 3 minutes to make in 1 bowl with 1 spoon, and I'm going to show you how to make them. Stir together flour, sugar, baking soda, and salt. Add oil, milk, vanilla extract, and almond extract. Stir with a spoon and then clump dough together with your hands. On a floured surface, press into a 1/4 inch thick. Cut out circles and transfer to parchment-lined baking sheet to decorate with sprinkles. Bake at 350 for 12 to 15 minutes until edges are brown. Once they've had a chance to cool, these cookies are crisp, tender, and slightly chewy, and kind of irresistible.
Here's a recipe that's perfect for just one. If y'all learn any recipe from this account, I promise this is the one you're going to want to remember. Sometimes I sit on my couch watching Netflix and crave just one really good cookie. All you do is soften a tablespoon of butter in the microwave for 10 seconds. Mix it with a tablespoon of brown sugar, a teaspoon of regular sugar, 2 tablespoons of flour, a drop of vanilla, and some chocolate chips. It doesn't have raw egg in it, so you can eat the dough straight or bake it at 350 for 15 minutes, then sprinkle with salt. You're welcome. She ain't wrong. This is how to heat treat flour for edible cookie dough. So when I posted the single serve cookie video, a lot of y'all lost it over the raw flour. Even though I meant for the recipe to be cooked, I did mention you could eat the dough, which technically could be unsafe. To make edible cookie dough, you should first heat treat your flour by microwaving it until it's above 165 degrees. I microwaved a cup, then split that evenly into 2 bowls so I can make 2 flavors. The amount of sugar in each are the same, but the type is different, so check the text for the recipe. Freeze or refrigerate and enjoy. When I made my single-serve chocolate chip cookie, y'all couldn't decide if you loved it or you hated it because no one ever wants just one cookie. Well, for all of those who loved it, I give you a single-serve blondie. It's really similar to my chocolate chip cookie recipe, but slightly denser and a little more cakey. Yes, you do still have to heat up your oven, but the dish load is significantly less. Usually, single-serve recipes aren't as good as when you make a whole batch, but this one satisfied everything my sweet tooth wanted and more. Woo, y'all! Let's make peach cobbler. Peel and slice 1.5 pounds of peaches. Whisk together a cup each of flour, sugar, and milk with a tablespoon of baking soda. Pour the batter into 1 stick of melted butter in a baking dish. This recipe is so easy to remember because it's just one of everything. Top the batter with peaches, then bake at 350 for around 40 minutes. Serve with ice cream or whipped cream and dig in. This cobbler was inspired by steel magnolias and is one of the easiest recipes you'll ever make. Steel magnolias gave us lots of wisdom, but Truby's cuppa recipe is a true gem. She combines a cup of flour, a cup of sugar, and a cup of fruit cocktail with the juice in a buttered dish and bakes it until golden and bubbly. This recipe is impossible to forget because of its name, and she says it's best served with ice cream to cut the sweetness. I just made peach ice cream in a jar. Pour 1 cup of cream, 2 tablespoons of sugar, a half teaspoon of vanilla, and a pinch of salt in a quart-sized mason jar and shake away. Now would be a really good time to learn a new TikTok dance. When it's as thick as loose whipped cream, add your peaches and freeze for 3 hours or overnight. Yum!
You only need 5 ingredients to make these delicious buttermilk peach popsicles. For a truly refreshing treat this summer, keep these sweet popsicles on hand. Making this recipe is a delicious way to use up any overripe or less than perfect peaches. It's a fun and easy activity to do with the whole family. Simply combine the 5 easy-to-find ingredients in a food processor. Then stir in 1 cup of finely chopped peaches into the buttermilk mixture to create a peachy taste with every bite. Next, divide the mixture among plastic frozen pop molds, leaving room at the top to allow for expansion. Freeze the pops 6 to 8 hours and then enjoy the sweet taste of summer.
This banana pudding is so easy to make. Let's do it. Slice some bananas, then make vanilla pudding according to package directions. Stir in sour cream so people will think you made the pudding from scratch. Then make homemade whipped cream because, well, we skimped on the pudding and this is easy enough. Layer it in this order: vanilla wafers, pudding, bananas, whipped cream. Then serve it chilled. This is how to make homemade caramel. Cook a cup of sugar, a quarter cup of water, and a teaspoon of lemon juice over medium heat until it's turned a pale amber color. Stir in a third cup of cream, but be careful. It will bubble and it's super hot. Spoon over ice cream or eat it by the spoonful. You do you. Here's how to make homemade caramel apples. Gather all your supplies and line a baking sheet with a silicone baking mat. To measure a cup of corn syrup, spray your measuring cup with cooking spray before pouring in the syrup to prevent the syrup from sticking to the cup. Cook cream, corn syrup, brown sugar, butter, and a pinch of salt in a heavy bottom pot until it reaches 240 degrees. Use a wet pastry brush to brush any residue on the sides of the pan back down into the caramel. Off the heat, stir in the vanilla. Dip cold apples in the caramel and sprinkle with candies of your choice. Let it sit on a silicone mat and then enjoy your caramel apples like you're at a county fair.
I'm here to show you today that making creme brulee isn't as hard as it seems. Whisk together egg yolks and sugar until lightened in color. Add vanilla and whisk to combine. In a saucepan, combine half and half in salt and place over medium heat until just steaming. Add some of the steaming half and half to the egg yolk mixture and whisk to combine. Then whisk in the egg yolk mixture into the rest of the warm half and half. Transfer to something with a spout and divide between 2 ramekins. Place ramekins in a baking dish with water coming halfway up the sides. Bake at 325 until the center is just wobbly but set. Cool completely. Sprinkle the surface of the chilled creme brulee with 1 teaspoon of sugar, tilting to allow the sugar to coat the surface evenly. Torch the sugar, moving the torch around the surface constantly. Sprinkle again with more sugar and torch again until well browned. Let sugar cool before eating. Crunchy and creamy, creme brulee is a dessert that lives up to its name.
This is my most requested recipe of all time. Seriously, I keep a batch of them because if I run out, I'm in big trouble with my friends and family. Even if you don't like pumpkin desserts, I'm pretty confident these will make you a convert. They are super soft, not too sweet, and not overly spiced with fall spices like most pumpkin desserts tend to be. The literal icing on the cake is the cream cheese frosting, which is equally tangy and sweet, and even recording this voiceover makes me want to go grab another one. They're best served cold and will last about a week in the fridge, but you're lucky if you make it that long without eating the whole batch.
Let's make some caramel corn. Start with 10 cups of popcorn. In a saucepan, combine 1 cup of brown sugar, 1 stick of butter, a quarter cup of corn syrup, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, and 1/8 teaspoon of cream of tartar. Stir over medium heat until butter is melted. Boil until caramel deepens in color and smell, about 5 minutes. Remove from heat and add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Stir well. Pour caramel over prepared popcorn and stir to coat. Transfer to a parchment paper lined baking sheet and spread into an even layer. Place the popcorn in a 200-degree oven for 1 hour, opening the oven every 15 minutes and stirring the popcorn around really well. This ensures that the popcorn is well coated and perfectly crunchy when it cools. Cool before breaking apart and serving. It's buttery, it's sweet, it's crispy, it's crunchy, it's chewy. Good luck not eating it all at once.